The alien princess was unclothed when I walked in. Her shock couldn't be hidden. Its culture was ancient, and its people were proud, intelligent, and unpredictable. His mission was simple in words, yet complicated in reality: negotiate an alliance between Earth and Vayara. As the airlock doors hissed open, Elias stepped onto the smooth, pale floors of the palace complex. The walls shimmered with a soft, bluish light that seemed to move slightly, as if the station itself were alive. He had been told that the palace, unlike most Vayaran buildings, was open, airy, and designed to make visitors feel comfortable. But nothing could have prepared him for what lay ahead. The corridor stretched before him, wide and empty. The soft hum of energy fields filled the space, and the faint scent of alien flora lingered in the air. Elias checked his communicator. Everything was functioning. The protocols had been reviewed. Still, the thought of meeting Princess Lyria, heir to the Vayaran throne, made him nervous. He approached the door to her private chamber. According to his briefing, this was where she spent most of her time studying ancient star maps and planning her diplomatic strategies. He knocked lightly. There was no answer. He knocked again. Silence. Elias hesitated. Protocols were clear: wait for permission. But the schedule was tight and time was limited. He needed to make a good impression, not waste a moment. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door. The room was quiet. Holographic star charts floated in midair, displaying constellations Elias had never seen. Celestial bodies shimmered in vibrant colors, greens, purples, and blues, that seemed impossible to exist in real space. And there, standing by the largest star chart, was Princess Lyria. Her shock was immediate and unmistakable. Her wide, violet eyes locked onto him, and her hand flew to her chest. Elias froze. This was not part of any protocol. I apologize," he said quickly, his voice calm but careful. "I did not mean to." Lyria held up a hand, cutting him off. She blinked rapidly, as if trying to comprehend the situation. You entered my chamber without permission." Her voice was melodic but edged with tension. Elias raised his hand slightly in a gesture of peace. "I did not know anyone was here. I followed the instructions given to me, but I misjudged the timing." "I apologize deeply, Princess." Lyria's shoulders relaxed slightly, though her eyes remained sharp. "You are human?" she asked, her tone a mixture of surprise and curiosity. "Yes," Elias replied. "Captain Elias Kane, representative of Earth." Her gaze swept over him, examining his posture, his uniform, the small insignia that marked him as a diplomat rather than a soldier. Elias noticed that she seemed almost smaller than expected, not in height but in presence. There was a fragile elegance about her, a combination of intelligence and youth that made the air in the room feel lighter. Lyria tilted her head. "Humans, your culture is very bold. Very direct." She hesitated, as if struggling to find the right words in her own language before switching to a smoother, common tongue. "On Vayara, entering a private chamber without invitation is highly unusual. It is considered disrespectful, even dangerous." Elias nodded, keeping his tone respectful. "I understand. It was not my intention to disrespect you. I only wish to discuss our mission and find common ground between our peoples." She studied him for a long moment. Then, with a subtle gesture, she indicated he could step further inside. "Very well, but you must follow my guidance. Do not touch anything and do not move too quickly. Vayaran spaces are sensitive to gestures and presence." Elias took careful steps into the room, marveling at the alien architecture. The walls seemed almost liquid in their smoothness, yet strong. The air was slightly warm but perfectly balanced for comfort. The holographic star charts continued to shimmer around Lyria, casting soft light on her features. "Why are you studying these charts alone?" Elias asked, trying to break the tension. Lyria's eyes softened. "I have many duties as the future ruler of Vayara. I must understand the stars, the history of our people, and the alliances that will shape our future. Often, it is easier to think alone, away from the pressures of court. Elias nodded. He understood. Humans often found clarity in solitude as well. I can relate to that. Solitude can be helpful when planning for the future. A small smile appeared on Lyria's lips, brief but genuine. Perhaps humans are not so different from Vaerans after all. Elias felt a flicker of hope. Despite the shocking first impression, they had begun to connect. He decided to proceed carefully. Princess, I wish to discuss how Earth and Vaera might cooperate. Our civilizations are different, but I believe we share common goals: peace, prosperity, and understanding. Lyria studied him. Her eyes were sharp and penetrating, yet there was curiosity there as well. You speak boldly, human. Many visitors speak of peace, but few truly understand our ways. Why should I trust you? Elias thought for a moment. Trust was earned, not demanded. Because we are willing to listen, to learn, and to act not for power but for mutual benefit. I will not assume your customs, I will not impose our ways. I only ask to understand, so that together we may avoid mistakes that could cost lives. The princess's expression changed subtly. Her posture straightened and the shock that had first filled her eyes faded, replaced by cautious respect. Humans are clever when they wish to be. Perhaps your presence here is not entirely unfortunate. They stood in silence for a few moments, the only sounds the soft hum of the room and the shifting holographic stars. Elias realized that first impressions, no matter how awkward, could sometimes lead to breakthroughs. And this awkward encounter, this shock, might just be the start of something extraordinary. Lyria finally spoke again. Tell me, Captain Kane, what do humans know of Vaera's history, of our alliances, our conflicts? Elias smiled faintly. Enough to know that we have much to learn, and perhaps enough to help prevent mistakes that others have made in the past. Her eyes sparkled with interest. Then you shall tell me, Captain, and I shall decide whether your words are worth the trust of my people. Elias bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. It would be my honor, Princess. As the first moments of their conversation passed, the initial shock faded, leaving behind the possibility of understanding, cooperation, and a tentative friendship. Neither of them realized that beyond the palace walls, subtle forces were already moving, forces that might challenge their budding alliance, test their patience, and force humanity to prove its value in ways neither had imagined. But for now, the chamber was quiet. The stars shimmered in alien light, and a human and an alien princess had shared their first, surprising moment of connection. Elias thought to himself, this is only the beginning. And somehow, I feel that Vaera and its princess will never forget this day. The next morning, Captain Elias Kane woke in his quarters aboard the Vaeran Palace station. The soft hum of the life support systems and the faint glow of the artificial sun through the observation dome greeted him. Today would be his first proper meeting with Princess Lyria, and he knew that appearances mattered more than ever. Breakfast was served in a small, elegant room filled with alien fruits and beverages he had never seen before. The colors alone were mesmerizing: crimson berries that seemed to glow faintly, translucent liquids that shimmered like liquid starlight. Elias studied them carefully, aware that even the act of eating incorrectly could be seen as a breach of etiquette. A soft chime announced a visitor. Elias straightened. A young Vaeran attendant entered, her skin a pale silver blue, eyes wide with intelligence. She spoke in her melodic language, then switched to the common tongue he understood. Captain Kane, Princess Lyria is ready to receive you, she said, bowing lightly. Follow me, please. Elias nodded and followed her through corridors that seemed to twist and shimmer with alien technology. He had already noticed that Vaeran architecture was designed to disorient slightly, yet remain comfortable, a combination of elegance and subtle intimidation. When they reached Lyria's chamber, the princess was standing near the holographic star maps again. This time, she seemed more composed, though her violet eyes still held curiosity and caution. "Captain Kane," she greeted, her voice steady. "Today we shall continue our discussion, but I warn you, humans often misunderstand Vaer and etiquette. Your first attempt nearly caused offense." Elias bowed slightly. "I will do my best to respect your customs, Princess. I wish only to learn and cooperate." Lyria nodded. "Very well, sit and observe." Elias sat in a chair that adjusted to his form automatically. As he did, a subtle vibration moved through the floor. He noticed that the room seemed to respond to their presence. The holograms adjusted slightly as they moved, the temperature shifted imperceptibly, and the lighting brightened near them. "On Vayara," Lyria began, "gestures, posture, and attention are just as important as words. To sit before me without proper acknowledgement could be seen as arrogance. Yet you managed it with calm intent. That counts for something." Elias nodded. "I understand. I have much to learn." Lyria smiled faintly. "Good. Then we shall begin with history. The alliances your people hope for are built not only on technology or resources, but on respect for tradition." As she spoke, she gestured toward the holographic star charts. The images shifted, showing Vayara's neighboring star systems, ancient trade routes, and symbols that represented treaties and agreements spanning centuries. Elias leaned closer, fascinated. "These symbols," he asked, pointing, "do they represent agreements between planets?" "Yes," Lyria replied. "Each mark represents a pact and understanding, sometimes a promise of mutual protection or cooperation. The galaxy is vast and trust is fragile. Missteps are remembered for generations." Elias considered this. Humans had been reckless at times, but they also had a reputation for adaptability and learning quickly. Perhaps this could work in their favor. "Princess," he said carefully, "on Earth, we value honesty, innovation, and flexibility. We may not have your traditions, but we are quick to learn and to respect cultures once we understand them." Her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "Flexibility, yes, humans seem bold, even reckless. Yet there is something admirable in your willingness to listen. I must admit it is rare among outsiders." The conversation was interrupted by a sudden chime. A holographic alert appeared in the corner of the room. Lyria's face changed. "A minor disturbance in the palace," she said, her voice tight. "Likely a bureaucratic error, but it requires my attention." Elias stood immediately. "Shall I accompany you?" She hesitated. "No, this matter is internal, but stay where you are and do not interfere. Your presence is noted by others already. Human behavior is unusual, and some may misinterpret it." Elias nodded and returned to his seat, observing silently as Lyria left the room. He noticed that even a simple walk down the corridor caused subtle reactions among the attendants and guards. Whispers followed her, careful not to reach his ears. He realized that in Vayara, every action, even minor ones, was observed and interpreted. When Lyria returned, she looked more relaxed. "It seems your presence intrigues many. Some are suspicious, but others are curious. Humans have a reputation, yes." "Yes," Elias said. "Mostly curiosity and caution. We prefer diplomacy to conflict, though we are prepared for both." She smiled faintly. "Preparedness, yes, that is wise, but diplomacy, when guided by understanding, is stronger than force. Perhaps you can teach us something about this." Over the next few hours, Elias and Lyria continued their discussions. He asked questions about Vaeran governance, military practices, and trade systems. She explained patiently, sometimes correcting his misunderstandings about etiquette, other times marveling at his human perspective. One particular misunderstanding nearly caused another shock. Elias reached for a small control panel to adjust a hologram without asking. Lyria's eyes widened and she waved her hands. "Do not touch that," he froze. I apologize, I did not mean." "It is delicate," she explained. "It is not broken by your touch, but the act itself is symbolic. Humans do not understand this immediately. That is normal." Elias nodded, stepping back. I understand now. Thank you for explaining. Her expression softened. Good. Observation and humility, these are signs of intelligence. Humans may be impulsive, but you learn quickly. As the day progressed, they shared more than protocol. Lyria spoke of her personal hopes for Vayara, her fears about political factions, and the pressure of being a future leader. Elias listened carefully, offering human perspectives without judgment, demonstrating empathy and curiosity. By evening, the palace corridors were quiet. The soft glow of the artificial stars bathed the chamber in a calm, serene light. Elias and Lyria sat near the largest star chart, now discussing potential cooperative projects between Earth and Vayara, trade, research, and scientific exploration. Captain Kane, Lyria said finally, you have survived the shock of my chamber, learned a little of our ways, and yet remain respectful. That is impressive. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but perhaps they have value beyond what we imagined. Elias smiled. I hope so, Princess. Our civilizations may be different, but understanding each other is the first step toward a lasting partnership. She nodded, looking thoughtful. Yes, and yet not all within the palace share this view. There are those who fear outsiders who will test you, intentionally or not. You must be cautious. Elias considered this. He had prepared for diplomacy, but not for intrigue. The palace, it seemed, was as much a labyrinth of human politics as it was alien tradition. I am ready, he said firmly. We will face challenges together, Princess. And I will do my best to honor your trust. Her eyes sparkled, a mixture of amusement and respect. Bold words, human. Let us see if your actions match them. As night fell on Vayara, Elias retired to his quarters. The lessons of the day swirled in his mind. Observation, humility, and patience were as important as any weapon or negotiation tactic. Lyria was unlike any leader he had ever met, intelligent, cautious, and perceptive. And though their encounter had begun with shock and misunderstanding, it was slowly evolving into a partnership built on trust. Outside, in the corridors of the palace, shadows moved quietly. Attendants whispered, advisors watched, and rival factions noted the presence of the human diplomat. The galaxy might be vast, but on this small station, the balance of alliances, and perhaps the future of two worlds, was beginning to shift. And for Elias Kane, the unexpected encounter with Princess Lyria was only the first step in a journey that would test his intelligence, his patience, and the value of humanity itself. The palace was unusually busy that morning. Captain Elias Kane walked carefully through the corridors, noting the subtle glances and murmurs among the Vayaran attendants. Something had shifted overnight. The whispers of curiosity had grown into disguised suspicion. Elias could feel it, even without understanding every nuance of the Vayaran language. Princess Lyria awaited him in the chamber, her violet eyes sharper than usual. She didn't greet him with her usual calm, measured tone. Instead, she gestured for him to sit, her posture tense. Captain Kane, she began, today will test you. Not against brute force, not yet, but against subtle challenges. The palace is filled with observers, and not all of them trust you or your people. Elias nodded. I am aware, Princess. I will follow your guidance and act respectfully. She studied him for a long moment. Respect is only one part. Insight, patience, and quick thinking will be equally important. Are you ready? He gave a firm nod. Yes. The day began with a ceremonial briefing. Representatives from different Vayaran sectors entered the chamber, each carrying data crystals and holographic scrolls. They were polite but cautious, their expressions carefully neutral. Elias noticed that every movement, every word was measured. The Vayaran society valued subtlety as much as strength. Captain Kane, Lyria said quietly, observe. Watch not only what is said, but what is left unsaid. The allies we seek may hide their intentions in silence. Elias watched the delegates carefully. One elder in particular drew his attention, a tall Vaeran with pale green skin and eyes like molten silver. His expressions were minimal, almost unreadable. Elias realized immediately that this individual was testing him. Not openly, but in small gestures, inflection, and questioning. The meeting began. The elder spoke first, detailing trade routes, resource agreements, and security protocols. Elias followed closely, relying on his training and observation skills. He asked questions politely, making sure to show interest without overstepping. When a misunderstanding arose, a reference to a historical treaty that humans had never signed, the elder's eyes narrowed slightly. Elias remained calm. "I see," he said carefully. "Humans were not party to this agreement, but we respect its terms and the intention behind it. Perhaps we can find a way to honor its spirit in future cooperation." The elder paused, studying Elias. For a moment the room seemed frozen in tension. Then, with a subtle nod, he returned to his previous posture, almost as if the human's response had passed a silent test. Princess Lyria's eyes sparkled with approval. She leaned slightly toward Elias. "You handled that well. Many would have reacted defensively or hastily. You remained calm. That is impressive for a human." Elias allowed himself a small smile. "Thank you, Princess. I have learned that observation and patience often speak louder than words." As the discussions continued, small challenges kept arising. A data crystal malfunctioned, projecting incorrect star positions. Another delegate misread a holographic chart, causing confusion. Each time, Elias stepped forward calmly, suggesting solutions without asserting dominance. By mid-afternoon, whispers had begun to circulate more loudly among the delegates. A rival faction, it seemed, wanted to undermine the human presence. Subtle warnings were sent through gestures, looks, and tone. Elias could sense it. He turned to Lyria quietly. "Princess, I believe there are factions working against us, testing both you and me." She nodded. "Yes, and you are right to notice. But detection is only part of the solution. We must respond thoughtfully, without rash action." The next test came unexpectedly. A ceremonial protocol required all present to signal agreement by pressing a small crystal pad in unison. When Elias reached to do so, the crystal emitted a sharp sound, startling him. All eyes turned to him. He froze, uncertain. But remembering Lyria's advice, he paused, observing the reactions. The crystal had been adjusted incorrectly by a junior attendant, not a trap, but a test of composure. Elias smiled faintly, gently adjusting the pad and completing the signal correctly. The room relaxed. Lyria's subtle nod told him he had passed another silent trial. Hours later, the ceremonial session ended. Delegates left, and the chamber emptied except for Elias and Lyria. The princess moved closer to the largest holographic map, pointing at a distant star system. "This is where your people could begin a cooperative project," she said. "Mining resources for research, building mutual observation stations, sharing scientific knowledge. But it must be done carefully. Missteps could be exploited by those who distrust you." Elias studied the star system on the hologram. Its planets were rich with minerals and rare energy sources. He realized immediately that proper planning, combined with human innovation, could make the venture profitable and peaceful for both civilizations. "I understand, Princess. We will proceed carefully, and we will ensure that no one misinterprets our actions as overreach or aggression." Her expression softened, a rare vulnerability showing. "You are different from other humans I have observed. Bold, yes, but careful. That combination is unusual, and it may be exactly what Vayara needs." Elias hesitated, considering her words. "Princess, I have a question. Why are these factions so cautious? Why do they distrust humans before they even know us?" Lyria sighed. "Vayara has survived thousands of cycles by caution. Outsiders often bring disruption, sometimes destruction. Even when intentions are good, fear lingers. Your people are new in this context, and trust takes time." He nodded thoughtfully. Then we shall earn it step by step. One solution, one act of integrity at a time. Lyria's eyes sparkled again, and she smiled faintly. That is wise, Captain Kane, but beware, trust must be demonstrated under pressure. Otherwise, even well-intentioned acts may be misread. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert. A holographic panel lit up, showing activity near one of Veyara's research stations. Something was amiss. Lyria's eyes narrowed. Go, Captain. Investigate. Your presence there may calm tensions and prevent misunderstandings. Elias followed her instructions immediately, boarding a small transport shuttle. The station lay on the edge of the system, orbiting a silver-blue planet. Sensors had detected an anomaly, apparently a malfunction in the energy core that powered the research station. When he arrived, Elias assessed the situation. The energy core was unstable, a minor glitch that could escalate if ignored. The Veyaran engineers were hesitant to act, their protocols rigid and slow. Elias stepped forward calmly. Allow me to help. I am familiar with core stabilization procedures. The lead engineer hesitated, then nodded. Elias quickly analyzed the readings and proposed a safe adjustment. The engineers followed his instructions carefully, and the core stabilized. The station's hum returned to normal. The engineers looked relieved, and Elias realized that his human approach, flexible, logical, and decisive, had impressed them. He reported back to Lyria. Princess, the situation is under control. No damage occurred, and the engineers are confident in their systems. Her eyes were thoughtful. You see, Captain, this is the balance we must achieve. Knowledge, calmness, and adaptability. Humans may be young in the galaxy, but they can offer solutions beyond what tradition allows. Elias smiled. Then let us continue. Step by step, challenge by challenge, we will build trust. As the shuttle returned to the palace, Elias reflected on the day. He had faced tests, subtle sabotage, and political tension, yet each obstacle had shown the strengths of humanity, intelligence, adaptability, and courage under pressure. Princess Lyria awaited him once more in the chamber. She did not speak immediately. Instead, she gestured toward the holographic star maps, now projecting routes and systems they could explore together. Captain Kane, she said softly, today you demonstrated what many humans lack: patience, humility, and clear thinking. You may be one of the few who can show that your species is worthy of cooperation. Elias bowed slightly. Thank you, Princess. I only hope that tomorrow and the days after we can continue to prove it. She smiled faintly. We shall see. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, perhaps more subtle than today. Are you prepared? Elias nodded. I am. Humans adapt. That is what we do. Outside the palace, the corridors were quiet, but the whispers had changed. Observation had turned into cautious respect, though some still doubted. Rival factions were already plotting, but Elias felt ready. Whatever challenges awaited, he would face them with intelligence, calm, and the principles of humanity. And as the artificial stars of Veyara shone softly above, he realized that this partnership, the one he had begun with a simple, shocking encounter, was growing stronger, step by careful step. For Elias Kane, every challenge faced, every misunderstanding overcome, was proof that humans could rise to meet any test, even among the most advanced alien civilizations. The day began with an unusual calm. Captain Elias Kane walked through the palace corridors, his mind alert. He knew that calm could be deceiving. In Veyara, quiet often meant plotting. Princess Lyria had warned him. Today would be the ultimate test of trust and competence. The palace had been abuzz with rumors for days. Some factions welcomed the humans, curious about their technology and ideas. Others feared them, suspicious of intentions and motives. Elias felt the weight of expectation on his shoulders, not just from Lyria, but from all those who watched his every move. Lyria met him in her chamber, standing tall and composed, though her violet eyes betrayed concern. Captain Kane, she said, Today we host a council of all major Vaeran sectors. They will review the proposed alliance. You must participate, demonstrate the reliability of humans, and show that your people can be trusted. Elias nodded. I understand, Princess. I will do my best. She gestured toward the holographic star maps, now glowing brighter than ever. All eyes will be on you. The smallest mistake could cast doubt. Remember, calmness and clarity are your strongest tools. He took a deep breath, stepping into the council chamber. The room was vast, filled with delegates from every corner of the Vaeran Empire. Their expressions were polite yet cautious. Some whispered among themselves. Others watched Elias silently, as if testing his reactions without words. Captain Kane, Lyria said formally as she motioned for him to speak, you may present your proposals. Elias stepped forward, placing his hands lightly on the podium. He began to outline Earth's vision for cooperation, scientific exchange, joint research stations, resource sharing, and cultural understanding programs. His words were simple, clear, and carefully chosen to respect Vaeran traditions. As he spoke, subtle disruptions occurred. One delegate adjusted the holographic display incorrectly, creating confusion. Another questioned a minor detail of the proposed trade routes, speaking in measured tones that suggested skepticism. Elias paused, observing the delegates closely. Instead of reacting defensively, he acknowledged the errors calmly. Thank you for pointing that out, he said. We can adjust the plans to ensure they align with your protocols. Our goal is mutual benefit, not imposition. The room seemed to shift slightly. The skeptical glances softened, replaced by cautious respect. Elias realized that human flexibility, combined with humility and intelligence, was exactly what impressed these observers. Then a challenge arose that required immediate action. One of the holographic star maps began flickering violently. Sensors showed that a minor energy fluctuation in the palace's core was affecting the display systems. Panic could have spread quickly if delegates misinterpreted the glitch as a sabotage attempt. Elias acted swiftly. Excuse me, he said, moving toward the console. This is a minor energy fluctuation. I can stabilize the system without delay. He accessed the control panel with a few precise commands. The flicker stopped. The holograms returned to normal, showing the proposed routes and agreements clearly. Lyria's eyes widened slightly, a rare expression of admiration. Well done, Captain. Many would have faltered under pressure. You handled this calmly and effectively. Elias bowed lightly. It is my duty to ensure clarity, Princess. Misunderstandings can be far more dangerous than any external threat. The council continued, but the atmosphere had changed. Delegates were more attentive, asking questions and offering suggestions rather than hidden criticisms. Elias responded patiently, showing that humans could listen, adapt, and cooperate without demanding control. Hours passed, and the final discussion approached. A critical vote was to take place, one that would determine whether Earth and Vaeara would officially establish the alliance. Lyria stood, addressing the council. Delegates of Vaeara, she said, her voice commanding yet calm, Captain Kane has demonstrated not only knowledge and intelligence, but also respect for our customs and understanding of our people. He has shown that humans can be trusted partners. Let your votes reflect both judgment and observation. The votes were cast. Elias watched silently, aware that years of preparation had led to this moment. When the tally appeared, a majority had approved the alliance. Some hesitation remained among the more conservative sectors, but the decision was clear. Earth and Vaeara would be partners. A wave of relief and quiet celebration spread through the chamber. Lyria approached Elias, her violet eyes glowing with satisfaction. You did it, she said softly. You have proven that humans can be trusted and that your people bring value beyond what many expected. Elias smiled. It was not my effort alone, Princess. Your guidance, patience, and trust made this possible. Together, we achieved this. Outside the chamber, the palace corridors were filled with activity. Delegates discussed plans for the alliance, and engineers began preparing the initial joint projects. The whispers of doubt that had followed Elias since his arrival had faded, replaced by curiosity, respect, and cautious optimism. As he returned to Lyria's chamber, she gestured toward the holographic maps once more. "Captain Kane," she said, "tomorrow we begin the first joint missions. Scientific teams from both our worlds will collaborate. Your people will demonstrate not only their knowledge but also their ability to respect our culture in practice." Elias nodded, understanding the importance. The alliance was not just words on paper. It would be tested in real action, in day-to-day cooperation, and in shared discoveries. "Princess, we will honor this opportunity. Humanity will show its best," Elias said firmly. She smiled faintly. "I believe you, Captain. Today you faced subtle tests, political pressure, and technical challenges. Tomorrow and beyond you will face more. But I see in you what my people rarely see in outsiders: courage, intelligence, and respect." As night fell on the palace, Elias walked through the observation dome. The stars of Veyara's system stretched infinitely, a tapestry of light and possibility. He reflected on how far he had come, from the shocking first encounter in Lyria's chamber to this moment of triumph. He realized that humans had a unique advantage: adaptability, empathy, and ingenuity. They could face challenges not with brute force, but with understanding, patience, and intelligence. And for the first time, he felt that humanity's place in the galaxy was not just possible but meaningful. They could form alliances, solve problems, and leave a lasting positive mark on other civilizations. Princess Lyria joined him silently, standing beside him as the stars shimmered. Neither spoke at first. The silence was comfortable, a shared acknowledgement of the journey they had begun together. Finally, Lyria said, "Captain Kane, your people have proven themselves today. And I believe this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, but perhaps together humans and Veyarans can navigate it wisely." Elias nodded. "We will, Princess, one step at a time, with respect and cooperation." She looked at him, her violet eyes thoughtful. "Indeed." Today was a test of skill and patience. Tomorrow the real work begins. But now we can celebrate the first victory, not of conquest but of understanding. Elias allowed himself a rare smile. "I couldn't agree more." In the corridors of the palace, the whispers had transformed completely. Skepticism had given way to cautious admiration. Humans were no longer outsiders, they were trusted partners. The alliance between Earth and Veyara had been secured, not by weapons or threats, but by patience, intelligence, and the human ability to adapt and cooperate. The galaxy would take notice, and for the first time, Elias realized that humanity had a chance to be more than observers. They could be active, respected participants in the broader cosmic community. As the artificial stars of Veyara glimmered softly above, he felt a sense of pride. The journey had been long, the challenges many, but the outcome was clear. Humans had proven themselves worthy allies, and the bond with Veyara was now unbreakable. Princess Lyria finally turned toward him, a genuine smile on her face. "Captain Kane, thank you. Today, you have shown not only the strength of humans but also their potential. Let this alliance be the first of many triumphs." Elias nodded, feeling the weight and promise of those words. "It will be, Princess. Together, we will achieve more than either of our worlds could alone." And so, under the glowing stars of a distant alien world, humanity's first true partnership in the galaxy had begun, built on respect, ingenuity, and the enduring spirit that made them capable of greatness. The galaxy was vast, the challenges ahead numerous, but for the first time, humans knew they could rise to meet them, no matter how alien or complex the world around them became.